So I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Just mention this right off the bat, that the ability to go to Lahaina, because you guys put me in play, to just put up my funding links, and for you guys to put that money in my hands so I can grab a camera guy and go over there. Well, let me just show you something really quick, because first off, because I'm going to skip it. I shared this the other day on the show on Monday. Now, this particular fund had less than $6,000 in it when we did it right now. Look at it now, guys. And I think it went over to 37,000 right now. And this is all since the Jimmy Dore show. And all the comments were there. I mean, last night I was crying. I really was. I felt amazing that you guys really came through for me and then came through for the people of Lahaina. This was direct assistance in their hand. And these people who are doing that work right now are so thankful that you did this, guys. And it truly is amazing that it went over. Look at this. $37,000 almost. Holy cow. You know, I think it was very helpful that Jimmy also did The Rock and the Oprah story and stuff as well.
Don't you think it should go through Oprah?
I do not think it should go through Oprah. I think we're proving right here on the Jimmy Dore show with the megaphone that we have that we don't have to go through celebrities, that we don't have to go through NGOs, that we don't have to depend on the government,
Shouldn't
that we don't
Oprah
have to
be
depend
giving
on
to this?
No, she shouldn't. This is us, guys. This is the work we did right here. You know what I'm saying? I found that I didn't even know about that before I get there, but when I went and spoke at this next story I'm going to talk about at this pizzeria, I want to call this guy the Pizza Santa Claus or something. One of the guys who was there instructed me, oh, there's another little beach set up where they're doing some mutual aid that a lot of people don't know about, and he pointed me that way, and we showed up uninvited, and they were very skeptical, but we went through the whole situation. We showed it. We were able to highlight it, bring it to you, and you guys have put direct mutual aid in the hands of the people. That is friggin' amazing, guys. And you don't understand. I think you do. Some of you do understand how much this helps them. How much it helps the people, the actual people who've lost family members, who've lost houses, who've lost business, who have lost everything. You guys did your part, and you did it beyond expectations, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for putting us in play.
It's good, like, because, you know, it's so hard to know what to give to. I mean, Oprah does have her, whatever the hell it is. You actually went there. Like, it's rare where you, like, get to know where it went.
Yeah.
And directly to people without somebody's, you know, annual salary for their nonprofit and all that nonsense.
This guy's, it's truly amazing. Let me play this video over here, too, as well, because this is something that's important. What I noticed when I was on the ground, there was other than Tulsi Gabbard going in there was one elected official named Ellie Cochran, and she was visible the whole time. She had set up a station on a baseball field where you can go talk to her. She worked in that district. She was visible there. She didn't hide from anything. Sometimes she kind of did that little bit of, I want to say a little bit of that sidestepping speech where she had to realize she is an elected official working with a body of people where she couldn't be almost like the citizens, which were like, hey, we want answers, we demand answers, which like, well, this and this and that and this and this and that. But she was open to listening and understanding the people. And I felt she was fighting for her community. She was one of the few people I got to see. Tulsi Gabbard got on the ground, and she got on the ground early. Listen to what she has to say. And I agree with her on so many things right here. And I am so glad, you know, we had the bad Tulsi before, now the good Tulsi, because her doing this is so important because they are forgetting these people. They are trying to make them go away. That's why what we did with that whole GoFundMe was so important, because we're keeping these people alive and we're keeping them there. Number one thing we got to do, we got to stop the bleeding, right? It's like I said, it's an orchestrated gentrification where they want these people gone. Too many coincidences, too much lack of transparency, and not just lack of transparency, lack of telling the truth on why the conditions were the way they were, that it could be like almost like a brush fire set on fire so easily, the diversion of water to the golf courses in the rich areas. Too much of a lack of transparency or a lack of the truth of why there were so many failures when the fire was going on, why the police officers were keeping people in there, why the water was shut off, why there wasn't any warnings or the signs, and too much of a lack of transparency or a lack of telling the truth of who these elected officials are invested in. Specifically, Governor Green, who was the keynote speaker for 15-minute cities at the UN months before. And they all knew this. They all knew the money that was going to Ukraine. So here's Rogan and Tulsi, Congresswoman, speaking. And listen to this, because she hits it right on the nose here.
Like, how is that possible? That these people could lose their home and then lose their land? Like, how is that possible?
It is the number one concern of people there in Lahaina. is that a few days after this happened, I haven't spoken to the governor, but he said in a press conference, he said, we're talking to the attorney general. He said, I'm talking to my attorney general to explore options for the state to take over that land and use it to build workforce housing or build a memorial to the for the people who lost their lives. Yeah. But the fears that the people in Lahaina have, some of whom, like Archie Kalepa, famous surfer, community leader, Native Hawaiian leader, his family has lived in Lahaina for 9 generations, now being told, well, the state, the governor is looking at taking that land, taking ownership of that land, that it is unconscionable. And there's, we'll for those who've been displaced, we'll see about doing a land swap and we'll send you to the Big Island to live in Puna.
Jesus.
It's taking away the sovereignty of people's rights to have a say over their home, in many cases, their generational lands, it is such an abuse of power. And so this is, and I'm glad that there are leaders in the community who are leaning into this fight to make sure that they are fighting this fight before anybody tries to do that, rather than looking in the rearview mirror and saying, gosh, I wish we had done something.
But just imagine a governor going on television after a massive tragedy where you have, we don't even know the number of people dead yet. You have this massive area that's been burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about taking it over for the state. That's an insane position to take.
It is.
Post-tragedy. When people are suffering at their most, they can't even believe it happened.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's saying, we're going to take it for the state and make a memorial? How about give the fucking people their homes back?
Exactly.
You know, one of the things we went over yesterday, which is a crazy number, we were looking at the amount of money that was accidentally sent to Ukraine. Like they oversent $6 billion. And then I said, well, how much would it cost to rebuild every house in the Maui fire? And it's $5 billion, $5 billion something.
Yeah.
Like that's just like accidental money.
And before Tulsi says what she's going to say, and she kind of, and that's why I'm so glad she went there, and I'm so glad she did this on Rogan.
Yeah, that's why I played.
I mean,
this gets covered other than here.
Yeah.
And I was happy I saw Rogan had it on, because I'm like, then people are going to at least hear about this. Because you might as well be Haiti.
Yes,
Hawaii might as well be Haiti.
Dude.
The level of not giving a rat's ass about what we,
Yeah, and that's why I went. Remember I said, Kurt, I got to, it would have been easier for me, 50 years old, to just take the weekend and relax. I was tired, but I said, I got to go do this because it feels like they're just kind of pushing these people aside and their stories not being told.
They're doing that. Morning Joe already said we can move on.
I know.
Morning Micah and Morning Joe agree.
And it's crazy because Tulsi's going to reflect what a lot of the people told me when I was there, and it's so freaking true. And I'm glad that Rogan took this on, because it's just mind-boggling that the governor can say these things and just say, we're going to do whatever with their property. And, I said this before. There's a couple reporters that were showing up. Something's going on. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm like, no, this shit's been set in motion for a long time. This is an orchestrated gentrification. They set the conditions up for this to happen. You can argue till the cows come on home how it started, but those conditions were set for many years.
It's
for
been
water
set
diversion
up since we conquered Hawaii.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for. I would say it's set up for when the sugar cane was all moved out there and the rich people were moving there, because we understand what Maui is, right? It's one of the most secluded islands out there.
They don't get elected.
Yeah.
Those families still control stuff.
Yeah.
The descendants of the colonialists, are a massive, massive donor block.
Yeah. So the fact that they came here, that they did this over here, I'm going to play the rest of this, what Tulsi has to say, because we needed to go do this. And once again, it's not going to be a quick fix, guys. When Joe says, why don't we just give them their land back? Well, this is going to be, and I spoke to a crisis actor, not a crisis actor, excuse me, a crisis lawyer who's dealt with this before. He says it's going to be 3 years before they break ground, and this is going to play out in the courts. This is going to play out in the city councils.
While everybody doesn't talk about it.
While it's buried, and that's why it's up to us to keep bringing it up, because they want these people off that land. That is obvious.
For a long time, they've been wanting them off the land, and all you got to do, make sure the water don't come on when the inevitable happens from your dry grass invasive species. Like all these kind of vulture people could just, the vulture capitals they call it, they can literally just wait.
Yeah.
And just wait. And like any minute it's going to happen. That's when we go in.
Yep. That's the whole thing, that is that you can argue that they force it to happen, that it happened naturally, whatever the case may be.
It don't matter.
there's always that apparatus of group of people who are ready to come right in when the tragedy does happen. Just like in New Orleans, which all those people gotten forgotten about, and it got gentrified certain areas, and the vulture capitalists came in and bought that land up after the dams broke.
Yeah,
and isn't it kind of just a coincidence that the dams broke on the poor areas and not the rich areas? Just think about that.
Well, they probably did the least good of job on it in that area. That's
Well, some
usually how
people,
it
they
works,
say
right?
they blew the dam purposely into those areas so the rich areas could be protected.
It could easily be poorly constructed because who cares?
And Cynthia McKinney, who also wanted an independent investigation of 9/11, wanted an independent investigation in New Orleans, and guess what happened to her? She got the boot. Let me play the rest of this.
But there's no talk of doing that. There's no talk of doing that. Isn't that interesting?
The way, and it's happened 2 or 3 times now where the Pentagon has said, "Oh, we miscalculated how much money we had set aside for Ukraine, so we have an extra $4 billion to send now that we didn't know we had." And this has happened a few times. Secretary of State Tony Blinken went to Kiev yesterday, promising, "Hey, we're going to give you another $1 billion now." And this is the thing: when I was out there in Maui, person after person was like, "Tulsi, tell me what would happen if we started to call ourselves Ukraine. You think they would give us some money then to take care of our families, to fix our roofs, that have been torn up by the hurricane winds that came through, to make sure we have clean water to drink? You think they might pay attention to us then?" And then FEMA comes out. The FEMA director comes out and does this press conference. I think it was at the White House, and she says, well, someone said, "Well, what are you doing for Maui?" She's like, "Oh, we're giving a one-time $700 payment to everybody who's been impacted by the wildfire. A one-time $700 payment."
It's insane.
Hawaii has the highest cost of living in the entire country. The entire country. And how freaking insulting is it to have the lead disaster response administrator from the Biden administration stand there and proudly say, "Hey, we're giving everybody one $700 payment."
It's insane. And it's insane especially because of how much money we're sending to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because there can be no doubt that these things are financially motivated now.
Dude,
Thank
they
you,
should
Joe.
change their name of Ukraine. Someone should actually make that petition and just keep sending them to the governor to change Hawaii, the state name, to Ukraine.
Yeah. And by the
And East Palestine
should do
change
the
their
same
name
thing.
to
Yeah.
East Israel.
Dude, stop.
I'm just saying, marketing, man.
Look. I thank you, Joe Rogan, first of all, for doing that. And it's $700 per household. It's not even $700 per person. It is a smack in the face. And every single person I talked to, Kurt, they said the same thing. They all said that shit. They said the 2 things that they really bothered them is, number 1, how come they're sending all this money to Ukraine? Nothing here. And number 2, how dare they lie about the number of people who have killed? They know damn well
That's
it's
the
way
craziest part.
over thousands of people.
They're saying 115. The last time they gave
150. Yeah.
150 people is the last reports I saw. Then they dropped the whole topic.
Yeah.
Again, how many people were just missing? If they're missing, they're dead, by the way.
Exactly. And they changed it to missing to unaccounted for before
Or how many people's that?
Yeah. And they said like less than 300 people are unaccounted for.
They didn't even say the real number, how many people?
No. The lowest number I heard was 400 people on the books. The average was about 800, and the high numbers were over 1,000, over 2,000. They're like, there are all these people
that's
down
what
here.
I saw is 1,000, 2,000.
And dude, listen, I'm going to have the movie come out. It's going to be like 2 weeks from now, and I'll give you all the information on Monday when we're releasing it. I think I'm about calling it Lahaina on Fire, The Aftermath, Volume 1, because I plan to go back there and do another volume, and you'll get everything that we talked about over there, and you'll get a sense of what's going on, because I'm not going to drop this. I'm not going to forget this.
Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Tampa, Boca Raton, Orlando, Dallas, Houston, San Diego, Bloomington, Illinois, Indianapolis, and Levittown, New York. Wow, that's a lot of dates. See you there.